the arrival of the galactic throne stood in the center of the universe like a crown made of metal and fear. For thousands of years the throne controlled every star system with iron rules and endless fleets. Every species knew the law of the throne, and every species obeyed it without question. Except humans. Humans had once resisted, fought, and refused to kneel. But according to the official records, humans went extinct more than 1 century ago. The throne believed no human ship, no human colony, and no human soldier existed anymore. Today, because of that belief, the throne felt safe. But today would also be the day that belief died forever. Inside the Throne War Council chamber, hundreds of alien commanders gathered around a massive glowing map. They were preparing for a final sweep across the outer colonies. Their goal was simple: destroy every last human survivor. Even if it was only a rumor, the Throne Emperor looked at the map with cold pride. To erase a problem, erase the roots, he said, his voice deep and calm like a dying star. Suddenly, every alarm across the station began screaming. Red lights covered the walls, turning the grand room into a place of panic and confusion. The map flickered, then showed a single massive object entering the system. The object was not identified, not tagged, and not registered in the galactic archives. It was as if it came from nowhere. The sensors struggled to scan it, and half of them failed completely. A trembling officer shouted, "Something is decloaking near the station." The commanders looked at each other with horror. Only ancient warships used cloak fields, and only one species had ever built that kind of technology at this scale. But that was impossible. Humans were gone. The room fell silent as the cloak field collapsed, revealing the impossible. A massive warship hung outside the station, black as deep space and larger than any vessel the throne had ever seen. Its hull was covered in scars, burns, and strange runic patterns. It looked like it had fought for 100 lifetimes and survived every battle. But the most frightening thing was its shape. Every alien in the room recognized it instantly. It was human, a human warship, a type no one had ever recorded before, a type that should not exist, a type that made even the bravest commanders whisper in fear. The Emperor stepped forward and stared at the ship through the transparent wall of the chamber. His heart pounded inside his chest, but his face remained cold. "That cannot be," he said slowly. "The humans are gone." But the warship outside did not care about his belief. It simply existed, and its existence was enough to shake a galaxy. The station's communication channels tried to connect, but every system returned the same message: signal blocked. Someone or something inside the warship was jamming every frequency. The ship drifted closer, moving without sound, without warning, without fear. Its engines glowed with a strange white-blue fire that no scientist had ever seen before. Every alien inside the chamber stepped back as the warship's shadow covered the station. Finally, the throne commander whispered the question everyone feared. "If this ship is really human, then where have they been for 100 years? Nobody answered. Nobody could. The warship activated its forward lights, bathing the station in a cold, ghostly glow. Then, without sending a message, without giving a reason, without showing emotion, it opened every weapon port on its hull. Thousands of massive cannons stared at the throne like the eyes of a sleeping god that had just awakened. In that moment, the entire galactic throne regretted every decision they had ever made regarding humanity, because the humans had returned, and they had returned with power beyond imagination. The warship Speaks, the unknown human warship, did not fire. It only floated in the darkness like a silent mountain watching its prey. The galactic throne station trembled as if space itself feared the ship. Inside the council chamber, the commanders gathered close to their screens. Nobody wanted to speak first. Nobody wanted to make a mistake that could start a war. None of them could win. A communication officer tried again to send a message. The system flashed the same response: all channels blocked. The throne emperor's face tightened with anger. "Why would an ancient human ship block our calls?" he whispered. But deep inside, even he knew the truth. This ship was not ancient. This ship was something new, something stronger, something built for a different kind of enemy. Suddenly, the lights inside the station flickered. Every screen in the chamber turned black. Then a cold white symbol appeared. A symbol none of the aliens had seen for 100 years. It was the emblem of old Earth, the symbol of humanity. The room froze as a single voice echoed through the station. It was calm, steady, and powerful. It did not sound angry, but it carried a weight that crushed every heart that heard it. "We warned you to leave Earth alone," the voice said. The throne commander stepped forward and shouted, "Identify yourself." But the voice ignored him completely. The emblem on the screen shifted, and a new image appeared, a simple message, written in plain human language, "The last vanguard." "What is that?" a general whispered. No one answered, because the message was clear. This warship belonged to a human fleet that had vanished more than a century ago, a fleet that was believed to be destroyed during the final human war. But now it stood here, alive, advanced, and unbroken. The voice spoke again, "We have returned to correct your mistakes." The Emperor tried to respond, but every word caught in his throat. He finally forced his voice out. "You have no right to interfere with throne territory." The voice answered instantly. "You have no right to threaten what is ours." A low humming sound filled the station. The warship was powering something. The throne's defense systems tried to activate guns, shields, anything that could protect them. But each system failed one by one. The station's lights dimmed and returned as the human ship scanned every corner of the chamber. Its presence felt like a giant hand gripping the entire station. A hologram suddenly appeared in the center of the room. It showed a massive storm of energy orbiting the warship. Pulses of light shot out in every direction, disabling sensors, shutting down engines, erasing data. This technology was far beyond anything the throne had ever seen. The commanders gasped as numbers on their screens broke into impossible calculations. "What is this power?" an officer asked, shaking. The hologram changed again, showing the warship's name, HVN-01 Vengeance. Then the voice spoke a third time. "You hunted the last human colonies. You destroyed worlds you did not understand. Now you will answer for it." The Emperor stepped back, fear finally showing on his face. This ship was not here by accident. It was here with purpose, with judgment, with something the throne had never expected from humans. Unmatched strength. The warship turned slightly, its cannons glowing like stars waking from sleep. Every alien on the station felt the same cold truth. If the ship wanted to erase them, it could do it in one strike. But it did not fire. Instead, the voice delivered one final message, soft but terrifying. "We are only here to talk, but if you refuse to listen, we will show you why humanity survived when others fell." The chamber went silent. The commanders exchanged nervous looks. They knew the galaxy had changed, and they knew the humans were no longer the weak species they once hunted. The human warning, the council chamber remained frozen as the glowing symbol of old Earth faded from the screens. Only silence filled the room, a heavy silence that felt like the air was turning into stone. The Emperor tried to speak, but the words refused to come out. He had ruled galaxies, he had crushed rebellions, he had destroyed entire species, but now, for the first time in centuries, he felt something he did not understand. Fear. The screens flickered again, and a new hologram appeared above the central table. It was a view from the warship, showing a dark region of space far beyond the borders of the galaxy. The image was cold and empty at first. Then, slowly, faint lights appeared. At first, they looked like stars, but they were not stars. They were ruins of planets, broken into dust and drifting like ashes. A commander stepped closer with shaking legs. "What are we seeing?" he whispered. The human voice answered, calm and steady. "These are the worlds that fell to the devourers." The hologram zoomed out, revealing hundreds of dead systems. Every planet looked like it had been chewed apart by something colossal, something alive, something unstoppable. The chamber gasped as the hologram expanded again. This time, it showed a massive swarm of dark shapes moving through space like a living hurricane. Each creature was the size of a battleship, their bodies twisted like shadows with teeth made of energy. They looked like nightmares born from the deepest corner of the universe. The voice continued. "Humanity did not disappear. We left no space to fight them." The aliens stared at the hologram, shocked beyond words. The throne had always believed humans were weak because they refused to join the throne. But now the truth became clear. Humans left because they faced an enemy even the throne could never imagine. The Emperor finally found his voice. This is impossible." The voice answered without emotion. "We fought them for 100 years, and we survived. But your attacks on the last human colonies forced us to return. You have disrupted the balance." The hologram changed again, showing images of the human fleet. Gigantic ships with glowing armor and engines shaped like burning stars, weapons that looked like storms made of light. Technology far beyond the science of the throne. It was clear now, humanity had evolved. Humanity had grown in the darkness. Humanity had become something great and terrifying. The Emperor's voice cracked. "What do you want from us?" The answer came instantly. "You will stop hunting the survivors. You will surrender your forbidden weapon programs. You will end your expansion into human territory." A deep murmur spread across the council chamber. Some commanders shook their heads, some clenched their jaws. Some whispered threats as if the warship could not hear them, but the warship heard everything, and it responded. The lights in the chamber suddenly went dark. A powerful pulse shot through the station. Every shield, every engine, every weapon shut down at once. The station became a dead shell floating in space. Only life support remained active. A cold warning from the human ship. The voice returned, softer but more dangerous than before. "This is only a demonstration. We do not wish for war, but we will end one if you force us." The Emperor stared at the drifting hologram, his hands shaking. Never in all his rule had he seen power like this. Never had the throne been disabled in less than a second. Never had one ship controlled an entire system. Finally, the voice gave its final message. A message that sunk into the hearts of every alien in the chamber. "Listen well, Galactic Throne. Humanity has returned, not for revenge, but for survival. The Devourers are coming, and you have no idea what is about to arrive." The chamber remained silent, because for the first time in history, the throne realized it was not the strongest force in the galaxy anymore. The first strike, the station drifted helplessly in space, its power systems dark and silent. Every alien in the chamber stared at the hologram of the human warship, as if they were looking at a nightmare that refused to fade. The Emperor tried to stand tall, but even his royal posture could not hide the fear growing in his chest. Humiliation burned in his veins. No enemy had ever disabled the throne's systems so icily. No enemy had ever made the throne feel powerless. Until today, outside, the human warship rotated slowly, its huge hull glowing with soft blue-white energy. Weapons the galaxy had never seen before pulsed like living stars. The ship looked patient, like a predator waiting to see if its prey wanted to run or surrender. The commanders inside the station panicked, shouting orders that their dead systems could not follow. "Restart the shields," one yelled. "Power up the cannons," another cried, but nothing responded. Not a single system obeyed. The Emperor slammed his fist against the table. "This cannot be," he whispered. "This ship is only one vessel." But deep down he knew it was not an ordinary vessel. It was a warning, a demonstration of the new humanity. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered back online. A brief moment of hope filled the room. But before anyone could react, the hologram changed. It now displayed the station from the outside. In the background, the human warship began charging its weapons, not with fire, not with plasma, not with missiles, but with gravity itself. A massive ripple spread across space like an invisible wave pushing reality aside. The wave hit the throne's nearby fleet first. Ships twisted out of formation as if caught in a hurricane with no wind. Battleships weighing millions of tons spun like empty cans. Cruisers cracked, their metal frames bending under pressure no weapon had ever produced. Every commander in the chamber gasped in horror. "What kind of technology is this?" one whispered. The Emperor had no answer. Nobody did. Then the voice returned, calm and controlled as always. "This is a gravity lance, a weapon your science has never dreamed of. We will not destroy you unless you force us." The threat was quiet, but it hit harder than any scream or roar. The throne fleet tried to fire missiles at the human warship. Dozens of glowing rockets launched into the void, leaving bright trails behind them. The chamber held its breath, watching the sensors flash with activity. But as the missiles approached the warship, something impossible happened. They stopped, froze, turned, then slowly rotated back toward the throne fleet that launched them. A scream of panic echoed across the chamber. "Shut them down," a commander cried. "It's not us controlling them." The weapons officer shouted, "It's the human ship." Moments later, the missiles detonated inside the throne's own formation. Explosions filled the darkness, lighting space like a broken sunrise. The fleet was collapsing from its own weapons. The human warship had not fired a single shot. The Emperor's voice cracked with rage. "You dare humiliate the throne." The voice answered instantly, "This is not humiliation, this is restraint." For the first time, the Emperor felt his knees weaken. His empire, his fleets, his generals, all useless against a single human ship. He finally understood why the last vanguard had returned, not for revenge, but because the galaxy was not ready for what was coming. The human voice spoke again. and this time it carried a final warning. A warning that made the air in the chamber feel cold and heavy. You still have one last chance to listen. Do not force us to decide your future for you. Silence filled the room once more. The throne had always believed it stood at the top of the galaxy, but today it saw the truth. Humanity now stood above them, stronger, faster, and far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The new order of the chamber was silent. The smoke from failing circuits drifted through the air. Every commander in the room stared at the hologram of the human warship. No one spoke. No one dared. The throne had never been pushed to this point. Not by rebels, not by enemy empires, not even by ancient threats buried in history. But one human ship had done what no galaxy had ever managed. It had broken their pride. Outside the station, the human warship slowly dimmed its weapon core. The blue-white glow faded into a calmer light. It was no longer preparing to attack. It was waiting, watching, judging. The Emperor took a slow breath. His voice shook as he finally addressed the ship. "What do you want from the throne?" he asked. The voice responded immediately. Calm, steady, and unshaken. "We want peace. A real peace. Not one built on fear. Not one built on lies." The commanders exchanged confused looks. Peace. After all the destruction the throne had caused, after hunting humans for centuries, they did not expect peace to be offered so simply. The hologram changed again. Now it showed the galaxy. Every star, every world, every route, a giant map of everything the throne ruled. Then dark patches appeared on the edge of the map. Moving slowly inward like spreading disease, the voice spoke. "These are the devourers. They are coming faster than before. If your empire continues to fight humans, you will not survive their arrival." The Emperor stepped closer to the hologram. "What do you mean?" he whispered. The voice answered, "We held them back for 1 century, but we cannot fight them alone anymore." The map zoomed in on the throne's borders. It showed how weak and scattered their fleets now looked compared to the shadows coming from beyond. The throne's strongest armies were nothing in front of the enemy that had chased humanity across the universe. The human warship continued. "Surrender your forbidden weapons. End your attacks on surviving human colonies, and we will stand with you. Refuse, and you will face us before you ever face the devourers." The Emperor's hands trembled. He looked around, searching for strength in the faces of his commanders. But all he saw was fear. No one believed they could defeat the human warship, and no one believed they could resist the devourers alone. Finally, for the first time in its long history, the galactic throne bowed. "We will sign your peace." The Emperor said quietly, "We will end the hunts. We will stop our expansion." A soft hum passed through the station as life support systems fully reactivated. Lights brightened, engines rebooted, security panels turned green. The human ship had restored their power, a gesture of trust, but also a reminder of dominance. The voice spoke again, this time with something almost like respect. "Then the treaty is complete. Prepare your fleets. Prepare your worlds. The devourers will arrive soon." Slowly, the massive human warship lifted its weapons back into their armored ports. Its engines glowed brighter, ready for flight. The entire station shook as the giant vessel began to recloak. Its shape faded piece by piece. First the weapons, then the wings, then the core, until only its voice remained in the darkness. "Remember this day, Galactic Throne. Humanity does not seek your destruction, only your obedience to peace. Stand with us, or stand in their path. The future of the galaxy depends on your choice." Then the warship vanished completely, leaving only empty space behind it. The galaxy breathed out in fear and awe, because everyone now understood one truth. The throne was no longer the ruler of the stars. A new power had returned, stronger than ever, and its name was humanity.